yes, indeed. They are well on their way. They are well above 100 kilometers already, 150 kilometers. So basically the launch sequence is that we first try to gain a lot of altitude, and then once we are at altitude we accelerate the vehicle so that we can stay in orbit.
And what sort of G-forces are they experiencing? Are they being really pushed back into their couches?
Yes, at this stage already, yes. During the launch itself, the start itself, not. It's going really gradually, but at this stage they must have around, I think, 2 to 2.5 Gs that they will have at this moment. And then later on it will go to a maximum of 4 Gs.
And that's Catherine Coleman waving. You could see maybe in the corner of your screen there. That's the other camera, 2 cameras in the capsule, and you can see, I think that's Paolo Nespoli.
Yeah, this is Paolo Nespoli and the commander that we see there in the middle seat, and they are verifying some parameters, verifying indeed that some of the systems come online, because once you're flying at a certain altitude, the descent systems will come online. So if something would happen, that the capsule can make a normal descent, and so that's what Paolo is verifying with his finger at this time and pointing to the commander that those systems have come online.
Now they've gone through this again and again and again in training. What's it like the first time for real? Or do you just switch into kind of automatic mode?
It's actually very strange, because once you're in there and once the launch is going and it's for real, you very much roll back to where your training is, because you have done it so many times and you feel very familiar with what is happening. The biggest moment is really the hour before the launch, because there you have nothing to do. And in training, of course, it does not happen, because they jump from 1 hour before launch to 1 minute before launch, because they don't make you sit in the capsule just for nothing. And so there it's a little bit strange, but once you are in the launch sequence again, you really fall back onto your automatisms.
And this is a busy period, but actually it really only takes about 9-10 minutes to reach orbit.
Indeed, 9 to 10 minutes, and it's a busy period, especially for the people in Baikonur, the controllers in the control center in Baikonur, because they monitor all the systems and they look at everything going all right. For the crew, the busy moment will start once they reach orbit. Once the vehicle is separated and what we call contact Adelenia, so it's separated from the launcher, then the work for the crew starts, because then they need to start verifying all their systems and say, are we safe? Can we maintain in orbit? Can we reach the space station? Can we dock to the space station? This is all done in the first couple of hours. They will test the engines, they will test the motion control system. So for the moment they are quite relaxed, they have not much work to do, but in 5 minutes from now it will start and it will get hectic.
And we hear in the control room that everything so far is nominal, everything's happened as it should be happening. A lot going on in a very short time, but not so much for the astronauts on board.
And we see that the vehicle has already reached almost its altitude, or it's at altitude already, 200 kilometers here in the control room. And now we are just increasing the speed. Of course the distance from Baikonur is getting bigger and bigger as well. We see that the vehicle is already 1,300 kilometers downrange from Baikonur. The speed is now about 6 kilometers per second, and in order to stay in orbit we need to achieve about 8 kilometers per second. So we are almost there. And now really the G-forces start building up. We have the biggest G-forces coming up now, and we're almost at the one of the important events is what we call contact Adelenia, so separation from the rocket, and we are in space, we are in orbit.
As Paolo Nespoli, you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, the left-hand side of the capsule, although I suppose left and right get a bit confusing when you're talking about this sort of thing.
And we will see here a little bit of a shock probably happening when they have the separation. I hope that we still have video at that moment. It should happen any moment now. And there we saw the shock, and this is actually when you have contact Adelenia, and you see that Paolo is immediately pushing with his finger. Now his work starts, because you see that Dimitri is sitting in the back. He's reading the board documentation, but Paolo is now actually going to do all the work for the next couple of hours.
And you can see, look, that's
You see also a small doll there that was floating around. It's something that's also taken as a gravity indicator because it's hanging down, and then of course once you're in microgravity you see it there floating around above Paolo's head there.
There was a round of applause in the control room here. We realise they've reached a period of weightlessness, so in space now they've got to deploy the solar panels.
Yes, and we just heard that this is already done, so this has happened quite quickly. The antennas as well are already deployed, so everything is going nominal at this stage, and then they will take a first measurement of the pressure inside the capsule, and then they will continue to monitor this pressure for the next hour to make sure that the capsule is completely leak tight.
And this is going to be for all three of them their first experience of weightlessness, of genuine weightlessness, apart from in training when they've been spun around.
Yes, in the Soyuz vehicle, of course, because both Paolo and Katie have flown already. For Dimitri, it's his first flight, but it's all three their first flight in a Soyuz. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to manage all the work that needs to be done in there. Because I know for myself, and I did my first flight in the Soyuz, I was very happy that I had Sergei Zalyotin, who was my commander at that time, showing me around how to do things. So they have to figure it out all for themselves. So it will be very interesting.
Well, now the Soyuz is well on its way. Let's see what Paolo Nespoli will be getting up to during his Magistra mission.
With the International Space Station now complete, the European Space Agency is about to embark upon its third long-haul stay in orbit. ESA astronaut Paolo Nespoli from Italy will soon board the Russian Soyuz vehicle that will carry him to the ISS, along with crewmate Dmitry Kondratyev from Russia and NASA astronaut Catherine Coleman. It will be the start of a 6-month mission, for which he has undertaken 2 years of intensive training.
Once on the station, I will be a flight engineer or a science officer. 50% of my time will be dedicated to
30 science experiments and technology demonstrations. He'll also be showcasing a new ESA camera called the Erasmus Recording Binocular. In combination with the cupola, a panoramic flight deck which was attached to the station in February, this will produce stunning 3D views of both the Earth and the space station. During the mission, Paolo will be using his privileged position in space to run educational programs for school children. One of these, called Mission X, will encourage healthy eating and exercise. Another, called Greenhouse in Space, will invite children to grow plants on Earth whilst Paolo does the same in space. Results will be compared after 2 months to show the effects of microgravity. Aside from his science responsibilities, Paolo's role as flight engineer will involve participation in the docking operations of 2 unmanned cargo spacecraft. These are the Japanese HTV transfer vehicle and Europe's ATV, or Automated Transfer Vehicle, which will be paying its second visit to the International Space Station.
This is a fully automated vehicle, but nevertheless it needs to be monitored because when it approaches the station, something could go wrong and the station could be in danger. It's about 20 tons of vehicle that comes towards the station. And in case I will see any problem, I can actually push a button and send it away, and then we can redo docking some other day.
Early next year, another Italian ESA astronaut will join Paolo in orbit. Roberto Vittori will travel to the station on board a 12-day space shuttle mission. He'll also be delivering a European space instrument called the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, which will probe deep into the universe to help astronomers understand its origins. This mission will be Paolo Nespoli's second voyage into orbit. In 2007, he took part in a 14-day shuttle mission to the ISS. Yet, despite the valuable experience gained on this flight, a long-duration stay on board a vastly expanded space station will be a new experience in many ways.
I feel the privilege of being sent in space, to work in space. It's 6 months. Yes, there is a little bit of penalty with the family, friends, and other activities, but I think it's a good time time frame to make the space station your house and actually get into a rhythm to be very productive and accomplish what we are up there for. So it's a little price to pay.
As Paolo meets the challenges and rewards of a 6-month stay in orbit, ESA looks forward to a new year of scientific and technological advances as a partner on board the International Space Station.
And we see Paolo Nespoli already busy.
Yes, indeed, and it will be another 5 busy hours for them until they finally can get some rest, because they got up about 9 hours ago, so it's already a 13-14 hour work day. And
Just explain what we're looking at here on the screen. This is on the main control board here in the mission control. And this shows the orbits.
Yes, indeed, and so Paolo will now, for the next 5 hours, he will be very busy working, and then in the next day it will be a little bit calmer. They will do one slight maneuver, one intermediate maneuver to position the space station in such an orbit that it's approaching the International Space Station, and then the next day again will be an extremely busy day, because what we see here is the different maneuvers that they have to do to climb up to the altitude of the International Space Station and go and dock to the ISS. And the docking day again is a very busy day, and it's an extremely tiring day as well.
Well, I think we can hear now from ESA's head of human spaceflight, Simonetta Di Pippo.
This flight at the European Space Agency is a great pleasure for me today to celebrate this big success with this Magistra mission launch. What is important to know is that this is only the first mission of 3 missions in a row, the next one being the ATV-2 Johannes Kepler mission, to be launched from our spaceport in French Guiana on the 15th of February next year. Last but not least, another European astronaut of Italian nationality, Roberto Vittori, will bring on the space station, with the shuttle Endeavour on the 1st of April next year, the AMS experiment, which will look for dark matter and antimatter. And what is important to notice also is that for the first time, 2 European astronauts of Italian nationality will be on the space station for 12 days together. Paolo, congratulazioni per questo lancio, congratulazioni per i prossimi 6 mesi sulla stazione, ma soprattutto congratulazioni a tutti coloro che nel direttorato del volo umano dell'Agenzia Spaziale Europea ci aiutano a trasformare i nostri sogni in realtà.
ESA's head of human spaceflight, Simonetta Di Pippo, congratulating Paolo Nespoli, who's made it into orbit, but busy time to come over the next. It's 2 days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 2 days, but of course it's a little bit busy getting with the Soyuz there, but then the real work starts. This is the most dynamic phase of the flight, the launch, the most exciting maybe as well, the docking to the space station, but then the real work starts. As Paolo mentioned also during his interviews, doing a lot of science to the benefit for ESA, for European Space Agency, maintaining the space station, accepting the ESA ATV vehicle will be a very important task, also the HTV, so he will have a very busy 5 months to come, or 6 months to come.
Well, Frank De Vin, thank you very much for joining me here at the Mission Control Center in Korolev. Join us again for the docking on Friday evening. That's the 17th of December at 20:09 GMT, or more or less. We don't know exactly what time it's going to be yet. And then the opening the hatch some 3 hours later between the Soyuz and the International Space Station. Shortly to be the new home for Paolo Nespoli, Catherine Coleman and Dmitry Kondratiev. We'll leave you with a replay of this evening's launch. It's now 40 seconds to go to launch. We're going to stop commentating now so we can all watch the launch.
We are ready for liftoff of the ESA Magistra mission.